Imagine walking into work every morning carrying an invisible backpack. Inside it are sleepless nights, panic attacks no one knows about, the grief you haven't processed, the pressure of trying to provide for your family, the fear that you are one mistake away from losing everything. If people know I'm struggling, they'll see me differently. Everything else grows from that belief. Here is where I believe we have misunderstood mental health for decades. We have treated it almost entirely as an individual problem. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Smile, where we go beyond appearances to uncover the conversations about mental health that too often remain hidden. My name is Dr. Michelle Nicole, and I am your public mental health doctor. Let me know in the comment section, where are you watching me from? Every week, we explore the stories, systems, and science behind mental well-being. Not just to increase awareness, but to help us build healthier individuals, healthier workplaces, and healthier communities. Today's episode is one that I believe every leader, every colleague, every family member, and every one of us needs to hear. It's called "The most dangerous part of stigma isn't judgment, it's silence." When most people think about stigma, they imagine discrimination, hurtful words, or unfair treatment. But I want to suggest something different. I believe the greatest damage stigma causes isn't what people say, it's what people stop saying. Because every day, people choose silence over honesty. Not because they don't need help, but because they don't feel safe enough to ask for it. So today, we are going to unpack why that happens, what's really happening beneath the surface, and what each of us can do to build environments where people no longer have to suffer in silence. Let's begin with a story. Imagine walking into work every morning carrying an invisible backpack. Inside it are sleepless nights, panic attacks no one knows about, the grief you haven't processed, the pressure of trying to provide for your family, the fear that you are one mistake away from losing everything. Now imagine this: someone asking, "How are you?" You smile and answer, "I'm fine." Everyone believes you. The meeting continues, deadlines are discussed, emails are answered, people laugh, the day ends. And no one notices that the heaviest thing you carried wasn't your workload, it was your silence. I've had conversations with professionals who looked incredibly successful: managers, executives, healthcare workers, teachers, entrepreneurs, people everyone admired. Yet, behind closed doors, many confessed the same thing. "I wanted to ask for help months ago. I just couldn't risk people looking at me differently." Some feared losing credibility. Others fear being labeled weak. Some worried they would never be trusted with leadership again. So they kept performing until one day they couldn't. The burnout didn't surprise them. The breakdown didn't surprise them either. What surprised them was how many people said, "We never saw it coming." Of course, they didn't, because the person struggling had become an expert at hiding it. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't hide because they don't need help. They hide because they believe asking for help is more dangerous than continuing to suffer. And that, my friend, is stigma. Today, I want us to look beyond awareness, beyond campaigns, beyond posters and slogans. Because I believe the greatest danger of stigma isn't judgment, it's silence. And silence is rarely an individual choice. It's usually something we have been taught. There is one belief that quietly shapes workplaces, families, schools, and our communities. It's rarely spoken aloud, yet millions of people live by it every day. It sounds something like this. If people know I'm struggling, they'll see me differently. Everything else grows from that belief. Now, let's challenge it from three different angles. First, we often think the answer to stigma is simply encouraging people to speak up. But speaking up is only one part of the equation. People speak when they believe they'll be safe after they speak. That's a system issue, not a confidence issue. Secondly, many people believe strength means carrying everything alone. Wait a minute, where did we learn that? Somewhere along the way, I think we confused resilience with silence. But resilience isn't pretending you're okay. Resilience is having the support, relationships, habits, and environment that allow you to recover and adapt. People don't become resilient by hiding. They become resilient because they don't have to. And finally, we often blame individuals for not asking for help. But what if the environment has taught them not to? Think about workplaces where promotions go to the people who never say no. Families where emotions are constantly dismissed. Schools where mistakes are punished. Communities where vulnerability is mocked. Those environments teach something very powerful. They teach people that silence keeps them safe. And when a system teaches silence, awareness campaigns alone won't change behavior. Here is where I believe we have misunderstood mental health for decades. We have treated it almost entirely as an individual problem. But mental health is deeply influenced by systems. Think about this. If someone develops burnout in a workplace, was it simply because they lacked resilience? Was the workload unsustainable? Were expectations unclear? Was recovery impossible? Did leadership unintentionally reward overwork? Were employees psychologically safe enough to admit they were struggling before reaching crisis? The answers to those questions matter. Because mental health doesn't exist in isolation. It is shaped every day by the systems around us. Our workplaces, our families, our schools, our healthcare systems, our communities, and our leadership. When these systems support well-being, people are more likely to ask for help early, recover sooner, stay engaged, and thrive. When these systems normalize silence, people wait until crisis. Not because they want to, but because that's what the system has trained them to do. This is why I spend so much of my work talking about mental health systems, because organizations don't just have mental health problems. Very often, they have systems that unintentionally create problems. A mentally healthy organization isn't simply one that offers counseling. It is one where leadership behaviors, workload, communication, role clarity, psychological safety, and recovery all work together to support people before they reach crisis. The goal isn't simply helping people survive difficult environments. It is creating healthier environments in the first place. That is prevention. That is systems thinking. And that is where sustainable well-being and sustainable high performance meet. So, where do we go from here? If you're a leader, ask yourself, if someone on my team admitted they were struggling today, what would everyone else learn from how I respond? If you are a colleague, notice who has suddenly become quieter, who always says they are fine, who never takes leave, who stays late every evening. Sometimes the most powerful question isn't what is wrong with you. It is how have you really been? And then listen. Not to fix, not to judge, just to understand. Because changing mental health begins long before crisis. It begins in ordinary conversation, ordinary leadership, ordinary compassion. Today's action is simple. Have one conversation this week where your only goal is to create psychological safety. No advice, no solutions, just curiosity. You may never know what that conversation prevents. Because the most powerful mental health intervention often isn't a program. It's a person who made someone feel safe enough to stop pretending. I'll leave you with this question. If someone in your workplace, your family, or your community believed they were struggling, would your culture make it easier to ask for help or easier to stay silent? That question may reveal more about your mental health system than any well-being survey ever could. If this episode challenged your thinking, I would love for you to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue changing conversation around mental health, one episode at a time. And if you're an individual, a leader, or an organization looking to move beyond awareness and build mental health systems that foster psychological safety, resilience, and sustainable high performance, I would love to connect. Whether through one-on-one session, consulting, leadership training, workshops, or speaking engagements, let's work together to create environments where people don't just survive, but they thrive. Until next time, remember this: behind every smile is a story. The question is whether we have built a world that is safe enough for people to tell it.